The Cow and Brown family is really a great family story.
They captured our hearts right away.
We heard so many stories, even during the build, about their family. From neighbors, people they go to church with, teachers, friends, and family. When I thought of them being chosen for the Extreme Home Makeover, my heart was thrilled because they were really individuals that deserve something like that.
Inside air conditions of their old home was very poor, one of the poorest I've ever seen. And the mold spores were eating away literally at their insides. Corey had issues with some lung polyps. Heather has issues with lung polyps, or has had, and so is oldest son Ryan.
The whole family is getting sick, and it's not because they have a genetic issue, it's because they're living in a house that's full of mold. And they've tried to fix the house, but it's beyond repair.
It was hard living in the old house because for so many years it was such a dream and a project that Andy and I worked on together. When it got to be a dream that we could never reach together, that was a very difficult thing. It's hard to lose your dreams.
The Cow and Browns aren't really concerned about how nice of a home they live in. They were only concerned about how safe of a home they could live in for their family.
We've been avid watchers of the Extreme Makeover Home Edition show since it came out, really. And Paul many times just laughs because he's like, who would say yes to that? Who would be crazy enough to do this?
We really didn't know this family. We met them the first day, would have been on the Braveheart March Day, I think. And when we marched down the street and we kind of meet each other in their driveway was when we first formally met. But, you know, we say hi to each other and we have some comments that we make for just a few minutes and then they're gone.
So when they asked us, and they embraced Eric and I prior to, they thanked us for the opportunity for them to have a new healthy home, not just a new nice home. So they really are a genuine family with the right intentions and their hearts in the right place.
And how does an able body say no? You know, you just can't. And that's when you know. You know when you're asked the question, will you help? And you go, yeah, I'm crazy enough to try to do something that's going to be wild and it's going to be a roller coaster, but I'm on board. So I think there's lots of crazies out there.
Hallmark Homes does not want to take the credit for building this home. It was a community-wide effort put together by hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah, I was amazed at the kind of immense outpouring of generosity that we saw from so many people.
The opportunity to be out here to make a difference to these folks' lives, and I think to change all of our lives is something we're really excited about.
To help people in need is just the right thing to do.
I think they're doing a great thing for the community. They're doing a great thing for this family. It's a great thing to help out a town and a family through all the tough times they've been through.
It was amazing how many people were thanking me, thanking Hallmark, you know, for being able to be a part of this. And I'm thinking, wait a second, you know, you're the one that volunteered all your time and you're the one that gave, you know, money and effort and you know, I should definitely be thanking you. You shouldn't be thanking me.
What greater thing can happen in a community than, especially at a time when the economy's bad, businesses are failing, people's attitudes are starting to turn a little sour, and all of a sudden, everyone's pulling together to be a huge, strong unit to do something positive for someone.
Giving really does change us, and looking away from ourselves makes a huge impact on our own lives. But it was difficult. Building this home is different in just about every way we normally build a home as far as the processes go.
As soon as we set the foundation, they started setting the floor joists and building up the floor joists, and now they're following that up with the walls and so forth.
They don't give you much time to do this. We had the call approximately 4 weeks before we started the construction. Whenever we build any house for a customer, whether it's a custom home or one of our standardized plans, it takes anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks to even start the project. This was in fact a straight custom house, custom built for this family. And we designed it, had it ready to go, had the permits, and had all the materials lined up in less than 4 weeks. So that in itself was an extreme example of how this project differs from many of the others. And of course, the time frame is exactly 24 times faster than building a normal house, because every hour in building an extreme makeover house is the equivalent of building one in 1 day on a normal schedule.
Because it's about a 4.5 day build. Now they say it's 7 days, but we don't get 7 days to build the house. We get about 4.5 days.
Hallmark's role in this entire project was really not so much as one as builder, but as facilitator, as conductor of the orchestra, if you will, and with all the subcontractors, suppliers, and volunteers and vendors being the orchestra members. So we were just up there conducting this beautiful symphony of making this house come together.
It takes a whole lot of people, as you see just wandering around here, to build a home in 4.5 days. There's sponsors from all over the country, there's contractors and suppliers.
Every single subcontractor and supplier was a volunteer. And so it wasn't like you could just get in a phone book and start calling people hoping that they'll, for free, frame an entire house. And so it was more about us just making connections with people that we've met over the last 17 or 18 years of business, and kind of casting this vision for basically building a house for free.
The community became very involved in this project. Not a surprise to me, because at any time that somebody's in need, the community seems to pull together in this area.
Miami County is not a huge county. I don't know the population exactly. I thought I heard at one time about 35,000 in the whole county. So it's a small county, but it's a very close-knit county, and they care for one another quite a bit.
That spirit and the unity that came together to help one common cause was just an amazing thing.
We need hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers, and there are so many people out there that just want to give. You know, they may not be able to give financially, they might not have product to offer, but they want to give of themselves.
If you're going to be around the construction business, there's always something that goes a little bit different than what you planned.
The skies were starting to get a little gray. They were starting to get very concerned about how they were going to continue to stage volunteers and workers and get equipment in and out of there.
You know, you just never know if it's going to be 90 degrees in October, or if it's going to snow, or if it's going to rain.
We were under the impression from the weather reports that it was going to drizzle all night, there was going to be some rain, and this thing was going to probably break up and just kind of diminish over the evening. But it didn't. It just stayed right there and it didn't move. And as I was watching radar, it just continued to, you know, somebody told me that there was more rain in that area of the state that night than anywhere else in the state. And when I got the knock on my door, my RV door that night, it was probably around 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:30. I knew right away when I woke up that the rain was pounding on the top of that RV, and we were probably in for a little bit of a challenge.
I know that throughout the shift last night they weren't able to keep as many people on as they had expected and had to stop, and I heard as much as maybe 10 to 12 hours behind where they wanted to be on schedule.
We knew it was going to rain, but we weren't expecting that much rain in that short period of time that basically flooded the foundation.
The rain really slowed us down, and at that point I didn't know whether or not we were going to make it or not.
There were times when everybody was wondering, are we going to be the one build that doesn't get this done in time? To see them go and not give up was really spiritual for me.
I wasn't ready to give up. I was ready to pull in the troops harder and faster, make more phone calls, get more subs and suppliers. But it was a very trying time for myself and for everybody on the Hallmark team to try and rally together to make this thing happen.
All of a sudden we had trucks and flatbeds just full of straw. And the wonderful volunteers that were here that day, the great story behind that is that their experience with Extreme Makeover Home Edition was to lay straw and mud to know that everyone else that came out after them was going to have a good experience. And that's the spirit that they took with them that day. And that was a real moving day for me, because Thursday we set up and it was perfect. And then Friday you come back and it's almost like the tsunami that hits, that you see the weather, it's coming, and then you just have to deal with the devastation afterwards.
That adversity has also added to the group of contractors. On a normal basis, you know, they take the day off, but there's no taking the day off here. They keep pushing forward no matter what it takes. So,
well, the weather's really affected every total trade, and it's pushed the schedule back, but I've been very impressed with how everybody has worked together to get around that hurdle. It's Indiana, it's October, and we're going to have weather issues.
I think the morale is high of the folks, and there's every expectation we'll get back on track.
Difficult to get through the framing because of all the rain. Foundation was terribly difficult to get through, and then that led to complications with the framing as well. And about the time we were able to kind of push through that framing time, we kind of started to get into a rhythm. We had 3 construction managers, Hallmark did, on the site during the day and 3 at night. And so once the house started taking shape, you know, we would assign 1 construction manager to the second story, 1 to the first story. So we were kind of hitting all parts of the house at once, and that seemed to start catching us up because it's like we started plowing, really started going after each section of the house at the exact same time. And so instead of, you know, starting in one room, moving to the next, it felt like we were starting in every area at the same time and moving together. And that's when we saw the most time being caught up.
Even though we were frustrated at points and technology wouldn't always work and rain would slow us down, we still kind of ventured through it with the whole idea that this is only a week long, so we can stick it out, and then once it's all over, we'll be able to look back and be pretty excited and proud of the work we've done.
200 people in a house working around each other, kind of hard, but we made it work.
We all would like to have not had the rain, but we got through it, and the team pulled together. Nobody went home. We all stayed, made the thing happen, and we're going to have a nice house in a few days.
You know, at the end of the day, the conductor himself doesn't make a lot of music. The music comes from the symphony. It doesn't come from the conductor. The conductor just waves his arms. And in some ways, Hallmark was waving their arms, but the actual work and effort that got put into this house came from hundreds of subcontractors, suppliers, and volunteers. So our role was just to kind of conduct the orchestra.
The 106 hours, at the time it didn't seem like it was flying, but it did. It flew by, and before we knew it, you know, the landscaping was going in and the house was getting done.
You know, the memories that I will take from this would just be the Herculean effort that I saw so many people, you know, giving of their time and energy.
Just to see those people rally, to see those subcontractors working so hard to make this happen. If you ever doubted people and their desire to help another family, to help a neighbor in need, boy, get on board on one of these projects and just watch, because it's an amazing, amazing process.
There's no question that, you know, when a couple thousand people come together and do, you know, look away from themselves for a few minutes or a few hours, or in this case, a few days or a week, that has made a huge impact. A lot of times people would say, oh, well, it's all about the family. And to a certain degree, I even talked to Heather and Andy about this the other day. I mean, to a certain degree, yes, it's about this deserving family, no question about it. But of the 2,000 or 3,000 people that volunteered their time, I mean, some of them knew this family, but a lot of them never knew the family, may never meet the family. And so there had to be something more than just the family. There certainly had to be something more than just a home for a deserving family. And that was probably the thing that struck me the hardest, is that people were coming together where they were realizing, some of them maybe for the first time in their lives, that when you as an individual stop looking at yourself for a few minutes, amazing things can happen. And amazing things can happen in a marriage when you stop looking at yourself, in a family relationship with your kids, in a church, in a business. And if we had an opportunity as Hallmark to be able to give a glimpse to even just a handful of people that came, of what it's like to be able to look away from yourself and the impact that can have on not just people around us, but ourselves, and what that does to us, it definitely would be considered all worth it.
Maybe that's the reason behind all of this, is to start a chain reaction, of giving. I hope so. I hope that's the case.
Seeing so many people give so much in such a short period of time was pretty inspirational, and at times kind of emotionally impacting.
This is really what it takes. It's not just an hour show that you see on television. And even though it's 4.5 days, this is months and months of preparation to make this happen. That happens in less than 3 weeks. It really is the state of Indiana that's gotten together to do this.
The volunteers were the reason why the whole project took place. I mean, they were the reason why it happened. They were the reason why at the end of the day, we were able to reveal the house to the family. Had it not been for all of them, no way. None of this could have happened.
The men and women that are building this home, the volunteers who spread this straw, the companies that donated every single piece of product and goods that made this home, and the money that helped build it, those are the real heroes. And those people that they call celebrities, and the ones that you see behind the camera, they have their role, and they're the face of the show that brought us all here today, and they're very important to the program. But the real people are the ones that got the mud all over them, that got the boots strapped on, slinging the hammers, and pulling themselves out of bed after 2 hours of sleep, and getting right back to it. So those people there, they're the real celebrities.
I hope that anybody who was involved in this week at all understands that they're healing our family, that the house and the scholarships and the truck and everything like that makes our lives so much easier, and we're so thankful. But the real miracle about this week is that you've done something that doctors haven't been able to do, and you've healed my family, and you're curing my children. And for that, thanks will never be enough.